I've been told I'm a Minesweeper expert, which is a perfect time to play some Gwent. Now, this is a too long didn't watch review of the hotfix changes. Okay, so we're going to go over them hopefully briefly. The video I did before was 50 minutes. We're going to try and get this, below 10. So some of the big changes are the main things I'm going to talk about. There were strength changes across the board, even stuff that we don't know of yet. Most of those came in the form of reveal. Nilfgaard, they got a couple of strength buffs. Some of Skellige's base strength has changed. Northern Realms is most likely going to change with a lot of their machines as well. There's some across all the board, to be honest. Scoia'tael with the sappers, monsters, Seleno, Harpian, Ancient Foglets, and something. So there's base strength changes all across the board. But let's just go over some of the main things they wanted with this hotfix. Okay, so the hotfix will be soon, and that in CD Projekt Red terms, in Pavel terms, is about a day or two. So we can probably expect it tomorrow or Wednesday is most likely the time when it will be out. So you will get 3 days worth of maximum value scrap, and they didn't mention anything about non-premiums and premiums, so it seems like you can do either one you want. But you will get scraps and powder for it in sort of equal measure, so it may not be absolutely full amounts. Now, they also mentioned that they wanted the leaderboard. That has been an issue recently with the MMR changes. They wanted more people to get to 21, so they may be tweaking that to make it a little bit better for top level players to get up there a bit faster. And one of the things they're doing around that is that beginners who are, let's say, 1000 MMR or less, they will never actually lose MMR for losing in ranked. So you can guarantee getting up to at least 1000 MMR-ish without ever losing MMR for losing the game. Okay, and so the main things they wanted to do in this particular hotfix are addressing the fun. They want to make sure the fun is still there. And the first thing is carryover was an issue. So there was a lot of carryover in the game, and they thought it was quite powerful. And there are a couple of cards which they've addressed. Morkvarg and Olgierd are the two main ones that come to mind, in which Morkvarg is 8 and Olgierd is 9, but they half their strength when they get discarded or destroyed or whatever. So they half their strength, which means that if you buff them up loads in round 1 using Wild Boar and Shield Mists and stuff, they're going to half, so they're going to half for more. So their carryover is relatively low. It's going to be, at the minute, it's 9 to 4 to 2. So it drastically goes down very quickly. So buffing them up in round 1 is not as a good thing. The Croc on crate deck in round 1 with Morkvarg and Wild Boar probably going to go out of fashion a little bit now. Okay. The next thing they wanted to talk about is weather, and that saw a drastic change. So the bronze weathers have seen the most change. There's a change to Skellige Storm and Aeromancy as well. We'll go over those because they're the most basic. Aeromancy can now only pull cards, bronze or silver cards, from your deck. It can't replay one from the graveyard. So I think that's a big hit to Aeromancy. You might just not bother playing that now. And Skellige Storm, it's now called Mightybracker's Storm because it does 2 damage, 2 damage, 1 damage, rather than 3, 2, 1. So we've got the Mightybracker treatment there. We're now calling it Mightybracker's Storm. So the main bronze weathers, they've changed a lot, actually. They've become they didn't want them to become decks in their own right. So first of all, Frost, it does 2 damage to the lowest unit. And it's only 1. It only hits 1. So it does 2 damage per turn maximum per row. So it's actually quite a lot less effective than it used to be. Maximum 2 damage per turn. And, well, this is going to see not much play, I think. There are cards which changed that also utilize Frost. The Wild Hunt Hounds have now gone down to 4 strength. So you play it, and if they clear it, it was a 2 damage bronze, It takes 5 turns to get 10 damage with that bronze. It's probably not going to be seen at all. And likewise, Fog does the same. It does 2 strength from the highest unit, but again, only hits 1. There is no leveling involved, so it's a pretty slow card. Obviously, you've still got Foglets and Ancient Foglets, which have gone up to 7, the Ancient Foglets. But I just don't think it'll be seen very much. The archetypes just don't... I don't imagine they'll work unless they redo what's worth, because those particular Frost and Fog decks, they were hard to play anyway. and you would get value out of the weather a lot more, but that's not going to be the case anymore. They don't seem to have buffed the other aspects of the deck. In fact, they might have nerfed some of them, like the Wild Hunt Hound and Caranthea, but the Frost has also, and the Fog has gone down a lot, that it's really going to hurt. Now, we may see in the future theory crafting that people might be taking out these weather clearing things, because weather is pretty garbage now, so there's no point clearing it most of the time, in which case you might get more ticks. But base value, bronze, frost and fog, not very good. Now rain, they seem to have swapped frost and rain around. Rain does 5 damage. No, yeah, it does 5 damage per turn maximum. It does 1 damage to the 5 lowest units on a row. Okay, so 1 damage to the 5 lowest. The way they switched these frost and rain means that white frost now plays 2 biting frost, but biting frosts are not as massively powerful now. They're actually pretty bad. So white frost is probably not going to be seen as much either. And so rain is definitely the one you're going to go for with Skellige. It's definitely going to be the weather you're going to see the most. The next big thing they wanted to address is big uninteractive golds. And this is going to, these 3 things are all going to be future endeavors. They're going to keep constantly looking at these big uninteractive golds. So these are things like Tibor, things like Hjalmar, things like Regis. And Regis is probably one of the biggest changes they did. So you would take Regis, Higher Vampire, and you consume like an 18 strength spotter from the enemy's deck, and your Regis would be 6 plus 18. Well, this was a bit strong, they thought. So now Regis only actually consumes base strength. So while you do deny them the 18 strength spotter or the 18 strength protector, you are actually only going to get the 2 or 4 base strength that they are. Okay, so Regis will be like 8 to 10 strength, but you deny them that. So it's not as good, clearly, but I think the denying is still good. And there are some strong base strength units that could still get Regis up quite high. Hjalmar is a big one that people wanted to see change, and there's 2 kind of changes with him. First one is he's 13 base. So he goes up to 23, the same as Tibor, so they're leveled there at 23. And the Lord of Unvik now has the second part of the ability. So if the Lord of Unvik dies, Hjalmar gets plus 10, is now on the Lord of Unvik rather than on Hjalmar. So you can actually lock him easier. So you can use the Fiend, Orcs, stuff like that. You could use it on the Lord of Unvik. You could try and banish him if you want. And this will mean that it's easier to lock, stopping Hjalmar from getting his strength. And be aware that Hjalmar is an 8 strength play when you first play him, because you play a 13 and the Lord of Unvik is 5, so that's a difference of 8. And yeah, it requires some play. So there's a little less overpowered. Another change to go with Hjalmar is that Renew now only does it from your graveyard. So you don't have to be worried about anyone stealing your Hjalmar anymore. If you want to renew him, he's still a good card, if you can remove him. But yeah, Renew is another big card that changed, that only goes to your graveyard now, not into both players' graveyards. Okay, so there are some other things they're looking forward in the future. They've just taken off the black mulligan screen. So when the opponent's mulligan a card, everything goes black. That's no longer there, which is great. So you can keep seeing the board and think about things, which is great. If you've been using Gwent up, that's been there for a while, but I haven't bothered. They want to add more agility into the game. More cards with agility are coming when we get the new cards and stuff. So just be aware of that. It's something they're looking for. It gives more play space, they think, more decision making, more strategy and stuff. So they like agility at the minute. They also want trigger consistency, like Savage Bears and buffs and Death Wish spawning. They want consistency with all this, and that's something they're striving for as well. So that is generally the main aspects of the hotfix. Now, there are a couple of big cards. I've talked about some already. I'll just go quickly over, because we've just reached the 10-minute mark, quickly over some of the big cards, which you obviously want to know about. So the Axman have lost Veteran. Okay, so they're 3 strength now, with 2 armor, lost Veteran. So they're always going to be 3 strength, 2 armor, so which means they're always vulnerable, no matter what round, to Peter, to mushrooms, maybe Cypher and Wily if they're not buffed, you know. So just be aware of that. It takes 5 removal to destroy them, but they're not going to be improved as rounds go on. Savage Bears is another huge change. They're now 7 strength, okay, which is weird, but they don't hit spawned units. The text has changed and it's a bit weird, but effectively means it only hits the opponent's side of the board, but it doesn't hit spawned units, only units played from hand. So it won't hit any Mustard, Temerian Infantrymen, or Witches. It'll only hit the first one, unless you pull it from an Owl's double cross. It won't hit Harpy Eggs, it won't hit Foglets, or anything spawned from Woodland Spirit, all of these things. So its strength is drastically reduced, but it's a 7 strength minion now. So you need an Owl's or a lock to do with it. And again, trigger consistency, it shouldn't hit from the graveyard, or if you lock it with Orcs or something, it shouldn't hit you. Okay, another big change is Drum and Shield Maidens. They have lost their veterans, so they're always 3 strength, 2 damage. Which is, they're still good. They are very still good. They're worth like 15 now all the time. And it might incline you to actually use it in round 1 or 2 rather than save it for round 3. So you can actually take effect of the deck thinning. Okay. And another big change that I saw. Oh, there's a big change I just remembered. You know the Bloodcurdling Roar is a 12 strength bear. Well, now it's 11 strength and it's doomed. So when it goes to the graveyard, it's banished, which means you can't resurrect it, which was a common thing that they thought was happening, which was a bit too strong. Or monsters can't use it on a Harpy and then consume the 12 strength later on. They thought it was too strong. So that bear is now doomed. So quite a strong strategy there is now gone. Another huge change is Villaintress and Mirth. He's an 8 strength gold and he only scorches once after 3 turns now. So some people have likened him to maybe a bit of a less effective Geralt Igni. You've got to wait 3 turns and they can deal with Bork, but he is 8 strength. You know, 8 strength means you might be able to debomb him and he might scorch himself, possibly. But I like that they've done that. I've been wanting them to change for a while. I do feel pretty sad actually, because he seems to have always stuck around. But I like that they're trying. They may revert it in the future, but for now, he's an 8 strength gold with a single scorch, so probably not overwhelmingly positive. People have also said that Shiru might be better than Villaintress and Mirth. Okay, Roach, another change, comes out before golds utilize their ability, so you can use Roach and Vilgefortz together. Okay, obviously Roach doesn't come out every time now, so it's not as effective. You can use Milva on Roach. However, Milva's ability doesn't work if the opponent doesn't have a card. This is already in the current version, but just thought I'd stress that you can't use Milva Roach to get card advantage anymore. The opponent has to have a card that they can pull back to their hand for the ability to work on Milva. Okay, I think that's, you know, generally going over most of the main abilities there. Selena Harpy went down by 1. It's a big deal. Some cards didn't get touched that I thought might do. Donna didn't get touched. He still steals from the graveyard and locks and is veteran. Olga Blackhand still seems to be veteran. Deal 5 damage, buff for 3. You know, but like I said, strength changes all over the place. I may have forgotten 1 or 2. You can watch my 50-minute video where I go through every single card that is of some relevance and talk about those. But I think I commented on the big ones. The most important ones at least. And thanks for watching. Yeah, well, I'll talk about that. There's 2 small changes to Stammelfor's Tremors that only hit 6 targets now, so it's a maximum of 12, which is a bit, you know, a nice change. I think it was too much 8, but also Overdose. Okay, that is a reverse Stammelfor's where it boosts 6 units for 2 each. And that would be good for swarm decks and stuff. So I just wanted to mention that. Thought it'd be quite good. But we're on the 15-minute mark. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Hope you enjoyed watching this. Feel free to watch the long one if you want. I'm sure there'll be patch notes soon. But thank you for watching, honestly. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. 15 minutes, 15 seconds.